You want to be from? Going to the Speedrome since 19, whatever it was. You were born what, 59?
61.
You were born 60, oh, we're saying, okay. So 1961, basically, we're going to the Speedrome then. And I've been a driver, a mechanic, a father, a track official, every capacity, or you just say I've been under almost every capacity except the popcorn stage.
I've done that.
You did that too? Okay, see? But that's basically how we're going to start out, and then from there we'll just go. Now, probably first question will probably be, what's your earliest memory of being at the Speedrome? Okay. So ready? In 3, 2, 1.
J. George from Indianapolis. Been going to the Speedrome since 1961, the year I was born. Been there with my whole family from the go, and continue to go there now.
Now, we were kidding a little bit early on. I know I made you a little nervous, but we'll start off and make it easy on you. Your earliest memories of being at the Speedrome. What sort of things stick out in your mind at the Speedrome in this would have been, you start to remember in 63, 4, 5. Now, things you remember about the place. What sticks in mind?
I remember going and watching my dad and my uncles race. We get the car loaded up from the house, head out there. It was a weekly thing, 2 or 3 nights a week. We go out there. It was kind of a family gathering. Wasn't like a family reunion, but most of the family, immediate family would be out there. It was a family kind of situation.
Mm-hmm. Now, in your case, your dad was running already. He had a stock car out there. What kind of things were you guys doing all week long to get ready to be at the racetrack?
We'd be out in the garage, just working on the car, doing whatever we needed to repair from the week before, trying to come up with something to make us a little better for the next week. It was a deal where Dad and me and my brothers would be in the garage 5 nights a week, working on the cars, trying to get the advantage that we could. And it was time, quality time that we would spend together.
What was your personal favorite thing to do in that aspect of getting the car ready? Did you have a particular area that J. George was his department, or?
What I always tried to do was make the car handle. A lot of people, when you're young, everybody thinks that they can build an engine. Not everybody can make the power get to the racetrack, and that was what I always tried to do the best.
Mm-hmm. Now, in those early years there, going through the 60s, the track was a little bit different than what folks knew through the 70s and the 80s and 90s. What sticks out in your mind is to describe the Speedrome in 1966, say. If you want to tell somebody what the place looked like, and they don't know what it looked like.
Well, I believe back in that time, it's when the majority of the infield was dirt. And as I recall, they still had the ambulance, the wrecker, and the track truck sitting right near the crossover during the normal racing time. There was a flagpole right at the end of the start-finish line towards the front stretch. The majority of the stands were wooden. The place had not begun to mature to where it was in its prime.
Okay. In those early days, who was your favorite person to watch out there? In those mid 60s days, did you have a favorite driver other than your dad?
Probably Harold Bennett. Always liked watching, a lot of the older guys, the Emertons.
Now, at the time they weren't the older guys. No. Remember, we're talking that we're the older guys now.
Yeah, this is true. Frank and Marshall Emerton, Jim Tunney, Sonny Thompson. The list will go on, but just being able to see a lot of those guys race was a real treat.
And over the years, you got to see changes in cars, changes in the way things were built, things were done. But one of the aspects that a lot of people point out that the Speedrome has always kept the stock car concept. What has been your favorite stock type car that you've actually seen run out there, would like to play with, etc.? Any kind of car out there has always been your favorite to work with or watch?
Well, the modifieds, they modified stock car. They was probably my favorite. We had the most success with those. And there again, that was a family kind of situation. where it was Dad driving, my brother John pretty much calling the shots through the week, my cousin Porter, my son Rusty, myself. We all, we had some friends that was there with us too, that working on the cars, and it was a pretty neat deal, especially with the success that we had from it.
Okay. And moving on up to the more modern age nowadays, who's been your favorite guy to watch out there through the 80s, 90s, in the 2000s? Other than your father again in this case, who's the fellow that always sticks out in your mind as being the Mr. Speedrome, we'll call it?
I've never really thought about that. I guess I've been kind of partial through the years, and not really one that, there were several of them that I enjoyed us running against, but never really had one that stands out above the others.
And going to probably what's at the core of the George family has been Billy George out there for all those years, in a variety of capacities, from a stock car, down and dirty stock car drivers, the modifieds, the legends. What do you think it was? Other than the fact that he lived just a few blocks away, that Billy kept coming back to Speedrome when it seemed like there were other venues for him?
A lot of that was his friends. He had a lot of friends over there, respected a lot of the people there. A lot of the people respected him. It was going to hang out with his friends. It was a lot of that. We had chances and done some other racing at other places, but like you say, he always come back. He always come back to home, I guess.
And I guess that's part. You've had your share of squabbles out there. You're fun. Now you've been this year. Here in 2014 was a slightly different one for you. You got to be on the other side of the fence, so to speak. You've now seen it from the competitor side and now the official side. What do you think is different being in charge of the cars as opposed to being in charge of trying to get the car past the other officials?
Well, it's not a new situation for me. I had done the tech for ASA for a number of years. It's a pretty neat situation because they're doing what they're supposed to do. The competitors are supposed to find that gray area to make me work to do my job. It's a lot of it is pretty interesting, and in reality, all the competitors that we had out there this year couldn't ask for a better bunch. They, as far as complying with what we requested, it was a real fun year.
And looking back on it, do you think there's been a change in what, or has it really changed at all from when you first started driving back in the 70s for you, when you first started going to pits regularly, back when you finally turned 18 and 16, 17, 18, were able to go in the pits, to now as a grandpa and being able to pits? Does it still seem to be about the same, or does it seem to change over the years?
Pretty much the same. It's the same names, a lot of the same names out there, different faces as the generations come and go. There's a lot of people out there still have the same good-hearted desire to see the Speedrome keep going. And no matter where you go, who you talk to, people's got good and bad to say about it, but the fact of it is there's a lot of good people out there, and it's pretty much the same crowd.
You're now grandpa, and you got a couple grandkids that probably won't quite understand why Jay George, why Billy George, why the George family had to be out there so much. What do you want them to know about the place to maybe help shed a little light on why it was so important to you and your family?
Well, probably the best thing that they need to realize is how a facility and the people like the Speedrome can keep a young kid out of trouble. You get out there and get interested in something like the racing. It occupies a lot of your time and keeps you from doing some stupid stuff that you normally may do. And myself and my brothers and my sisters, we spent a lot of time out there, and a lot, none of us had any real issues in life growing up. And a lot of that is because of the Speedrome, being out there, having something to do.
And I guess I'll throw the floor open to you. Anything you want to say to the folks 20 years, 50 years from now that they need to know?
Well, it's a shame they couldn't see some of the stuff that I've seen in the past at the Speedrome, and it's probably a shame that I'm not going to be able to see some of the stuff they may be able to see. So just keep it rolling.
All right. Well, thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Go ahead and keep your seat for a second, and he's going to hook you.